Okay. And we return now with the second district. I'd like to welcome Mr. Kurt Coplin, Ms. Kathleen Probst, Mr. Marty Weigel, and Mr. Scott Bunker. You will now be provided your 1-minute intro, starting with Mr. Coplin.
First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters and the Youth Commission for sponsoring this forum tonight. I'm Kurt Coplin. I've been serving the second district for 15 years. I've lived in West Allis all my life. I was born in Milwaukee. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I've served in the United States Army and served in Vietnam. I have a degree in history, and plus I have about 50 credits in business administration courses, which have come in quite handy in my work life. And I'm proud to be a lifelong resident of West Allis, and I hope to continue to serve the people of the second district as an alderman going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Probst.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment and thank the West Allis Youth Commission and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring tonight's forum. As Callan stated, my name is Kathleen Probst. I'm 46 years old, and I am also a lifelong resident of West Allis. When I was born, I lived on 82nd Street, and now I own a home on 79th Street. I find that this gives me a unique perspective, having lived on both sides of the tracks. I've been married to my college sweetheart, Joe, for 22 years, and we have 2 children currently enrolled in the West Allis school system. They each are excelling in their own ways. I have a bachelor's degree from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, a degree in political science, and a master's degree in education from Cardinal Stritch. I've spent the last 20 years participating and engaged in our community from the sidelines by teaching in our schools and volunteering in our community. I've resigned my position last year so that I could focus on developing a consulting company to help our teachers have success in the classroom by better building relationships with their students. I bring to the table my experience as a proven leader and excellent communicator.
Thank you, Mr. Weigel.
Good evening, and again, I also would like to thank the Youth Commission and the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to share our ideas. My name is Marty Weigel. I'm a 2-term alderman representing the 2nd District. I've been on for a bit over 8 years. I'm a business owner since the age of 21, when my brother and my mother and I opened a business in West Allis, Benno's Genuine Bar and Grill. So for the last 31 years, I've been a small businessman here in the community, hiring people, firing people, making a living, trying to get by like everybody else. Married for 22 years to my lovely bride, Suzanne. Have 4 great children. One's at Stevens Point right now, and my 3 daughters are all currently at West Allis Central. I found West Allis to be a great place to live, do business, and raise a family.
Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
I'd like to thank the Youth Commission and the League of Women Voters. Thank you. I've been a business owner, a resident of West Allis for about 30 years. I opened up a restaurant back in '82, and I was there for around 17 years, got out of it, and did some other things. And I decided about 4 years to get back into the restaurant business. So I looked all over the city. I looked in the suburbs. I looked in Milwaukee. And I decided to come back to Milwaukee, or to West Allis. And the reason I did is because I like West Allis. That's why I came back. I want to be an alderman in the 2nd District because I see a potential hidden gem in our downtown. And that's really what my focus is going to be on being elected, is to redevelop the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our first question will be asked by Joey Kovneski from Nathan Hale High School, and we will start with Mr. Coplin.
If elected, how would you strengthen the relationship between the Common Council and the school board?
Well, we do have continuing communication with the school board now. In fact, we meet once a month, and I'm one of the people, the mayor, the city administrative officer, as well as Kurt Wachholz of the school district, the business manager, and the communications manager of the school district. We meet once a month here at City Hall to discuss areas of mutual concern and interest. Additionally, we've talked about the possibility of maybe having a joint Common Council school board meeting, more of a social occasion than a strictly business meeting, once again so that the members of the Common Council familiarize themselves and get to know the people on the school board. I think we have a pretty good relationship. I know our Department of Development has been trying to aid the school board in the disposal of some of the properties that they have recently moved, so we do try to work with them.
Ms. Probst.
Hi, thank you. My perspective is going to be slightly different. I'm not sure that you can strengthen something that does not really seem to exist. It's not well known that there are these meetings that are going on. Very few citizens ever get any output from those meetings to determine what is being talked about. I think it's high time that the two elected bodies of government do begin working together a little bit more closely. I've stated before that I think our schools could be better. I think that they're better situated to offer a workforce for our community. It's a wonderful way to be able to bring new businesses into our community, to give them a ready, willing, and able workforce. I think the Youth Commission is a great start. I think it's a great place to begin and get our citizens involved, as that is kind of a meeting of these two groups, school district and the city. I'd like to see a citizens advisory panel to work on, solely voluntary, but work on input from our community on a much more regular basis.
Mr. Weigel.
I'm going to have to go along with what Alderman Copland said. Although it may not be real apparent to a lot of citizens, the school board and the Common Council do have regular meetings. We do share ideas. I, again, as a parent with children in the school, and I was a 10-year volunteer in the school, have maybe a little inside peek of how the schools work on the ground level, maybe not what a teacher sees. I also regularly run into school board members, whether I see them at the events that go on around town or in various businesses. There already is a fair amount of interaction. Some of the school board members regularly attend the Youth Commission meetings, which I'm on. So there's a fair amount of that. There, of course, could be better communication. And I think the one thing you'll see is that we're always willing to listen to solutions. Thank you.
Mr. Bunker.
Yeah, when I read this question, I was a little taken aback. I'm not involved in the Common Council at this point, and I haven't been involved with the school board, so I didn't know there was any type of problem between the two. And I guess not knowing the full details of this and what the situation is, I guess maybe we should elect some new council members who can play nice with the other elected officials in the community. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's just there's some tiff or there's some problems between the two. Maybe it's time to make a change.
Thank you.
The next question will be asked by Robert Epperjesse from Nathan Hale High School, and we will start with Ms. Probst, right? Or no, Mr. Weigel, my bad, I'm sorry.
What is your perception of the city's image, and as an alderman, what would you do to change it?
Oh, I can tell you, I'm not a native West Dallasite, I wasn't raised in West Dallas. I came at the age of 21, and back in the 70s, I think West Dallas had a different image than it does now. I think it's greatly improved from what it had been, and I know that when you speak to business people, people in development, that the city is very highly respected. There are some nicknames thrown around which I won't even say, and only because I don't want to give them legs, and I think that's one of the ways to improve it. Now, we have talked about possibly hiring a marketing firm or possibly putting in a marketing position in the budget, but in these economic times, it's not justifiable. If things were better, we had a little more slack in the budget, we might consider doing something that other communities do, because other communities do spend money to improve their image and to support their image. Personally, as a business owner, again, I said it, I think it's a great place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
I think West Dallas is getting a bum rap, and I don't think it's deserved. I think there's two things we could do to help with the image of West Dallas. I think the first one is maybe more community events. If you've been to a la carte or the car show, Forks and Corks, the National Night Out, we're planning an art walk in downtown West Dallas on Thursday nights. If you've been to these events, not only do we draw people from outside the community, but it's a positive, upbeat atmosphere. I think that'd be the first thing we should do. The second thing I think we should do is redevelop the downtown area. Make it a destination place. Right now, we've got hundreds of cars driving through it, and what you see is a vacant building, empty buildings for rent signs. think the first thing we should do is redevelop the downtown as a destination point. It's going to bring people into the area, and I think it's going to change the image.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan.
Well, I think, obviously, we've touched on a couple of things there. Both the perception of West Dallas is sometimes is not always, outside the community, is not always the best. But I think that the reality is, for those of us who live in West Dallas, we realize that this is a very forward-looking community. This was a community that, after all, in the 1980s, when it lost all these family-supporting manufacturing jobs, could have folded its cards and gone home. And instead, we took the ball and really ran with it, and have really been a community that I think has been extremely forward-looking. I think that you take a place like Summit Place, just to use a quick example. This is the most densely populated office complex in Milwaukee County. You'd think that that would be downtown, but it's actually right here.
Thank you, Mrs. Probst.
My perception of the city is actually a very positive one, but growing up here, I have long-standing memories of what a wonderful place this was to grow up. The effects that Alice Chalmers had on the city, the downtown, the bustling shopping that was on Greenfield Avenue when I was a child, the friendly community, the way this community embraces its kids, it makes us want to stay here. We tend to grow up and we don't leave. It's funny how I would teach the children of people that I've known for my entire life. It's another generation. So I think that West Dallas has a very positive image. I think that, unfortunately, as Marty was pointing out, some of the bad monikers that we may have, you know, they do have some legs in our community, and I think through a series of education moments, time with our students, we can try to change that. You know, kids need to have a positive outlook about where they live, and I think that starts at home.
Thank you.
Our next question will be asked by Nicole Palmer from Nathan Hale High School, and we will start with Mr. Bunker.
Should city workers be required to be residents? And would you make any alterations to the residency policies?
I don't feel that the city workers should be required to live in the city. I believe there are regulations and rules right now dictating that. I know the police have to live within a certain distance of the city. I believe the firemen have to live within a certain distance of the city. I think the rules and what they have going right now is fine, and I don't think they should require the city workers to be forced to live in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Kaplan?
That's kind of a tough question. I know that there's been a lot of sentiment over the years that we would keep certainly the top department heads living as residents in the city. I'm coming to the opinion that I think we might have to revisit that, simply because there's probably 40 to 50% of the employees that are currently working for the city who are going to retire in the next 5 years. And you have to appreciate the fact that it may be very difficult to attract the best qualified candidates if that is going to be the deal breaker. I mean, if you're a married person and your spouse lives in Delafield, let's say, and works there, it may be very difficult for you to, move to West Dallas and ask your spouse to give up their job. So I think it's something that's got to be looked at and perhaps reevaluated. I guess I'd like the emphasis to be hire the best qualified person rather than make residency the deal breaker.
Thank you. Mrs. Probst?
This is probably the most difficult question, I think, posed by this panel. It's difficult because no one wants to be told where to live, plain and simple. However, as much as I would hate to tell someone where they can and cannot live, I do believe that our city begins with its employees. And I think it says something when our police officers and our firefighters and our teachers and our city workers don't live here. If they don't want to live here, how in the world do you bring other people in? So, yeah, I do believe that it is a really important thing. If they earn it here, they should spend it here. That's how we keep our tax base here. I lived this, I walked this. I worked in this district for 18 years. I bought my home when I signed my contract in the West Dallas district. It wasn't always easy. I had impromptu conferences in the grocery line, but, that's part of being a part of a community. And I think that starts with our firefighters, it starts with our police officers and our teachers. When you earn money from the tax base, I think it's important that you live here.
Thank you. Mr. Weigel?
I'm going to agree with most of the things you've heard already. It would be great if we could keep and have all of our employees live in our city, but it's probably not realistic. I think it is important for people who set policy, department heads, chiefs, assistants within departments, the people who make everyday decisions that affect everybody, they should be familiar with the community that they're impacting. When my son was in grade school, his principal did not live in the city. She didn't know what Western Days was. The kids were talking about it the last week of school. Western Days is coming. Their principal had no concept of what they were talking about. It's important that we feel that we are part of a community. Again, I would love to keep all our chiefs, assistant chiefs, department heads, and assistants in the city.
Thank you.
Our last question will be asked by Alex Lux from Nathan Hale High School, and we will start with Ms. Probst.
What kind of development would you like to see in West Dallas, and how do you plan to encourage it?
West Dallas has we have a wealth of talent here in our citizens that live here. I believe that showcasing the talent that we have, showcasing the citizenry that we have, the community endeavors that we have here is the way to entice any group of individuals to want to come here, do business here, and develop a future here. I think that if we strengthen our schools and our relationship with our schools, you create a workforce ready, set, and able to take care of the jobs that are going to be coming into our area. I think that you lead by example. You stand up and you participate. I think we need to have much more citizen involvement in our government. We need to have more citizen involvement in our community. I would love to see neighborhood watch programs pick up as ways to entice and encourage all possible business entities to come into our area. See that it's a safe, clean, and a wonderful place to raise a family.
Alderman Weigel?
Well, I'm going to say that we are doing a great job on development. I am a fan of what we've been doing. We actually have an entity called FIRE. It uses a kind of a complex federal tax credit system. That FIRE financing helped us improve the building on 60th Street, the old Sam's Club that was just hideous. It's been key in getting the Tarantino development going over at the Press Steel Tank. That's a $38 million development. I want to focus on taxable development so that we're not building monuments to the tax-free world, and also want developments that bring jobs. So it's not just low-income housing or senior housing. Developments need to bring jobs to our community because that's what's going to help make us strong.
Mr. Bunker?
I agree with Marty with what's going around in the city. It's amazing, the development, but what I'd really like to see is some redevelopment of the downtown area. I keep kind of referring back to that. As far as how I would encourage it, I do more than just encourage it. The first thing I do is I like to meet with the BID, the Chamber of Commerce, city zoning, development, building inspectors, and get a plan. Decide what we really want downtown. Don't just put a for rent sign or a for lease sign up there. Really decide what we want down there. Once we have an idea of what we want, then I would actually actively go out and find these tenants, find these people that we're looking for. And once we find these people, assist them in opening up and building their business. I think by going out there and being aggressive in going out and finding tenants and businesses, I think we're going to fill up the downtown with the type of people that are really going to help this area.
Alderman Kaplan?
Well, I think we've done a pretty darn good job of redeveloping West Dallas and returning vacant and abandoned properties into creative reuse. Last year, we did about $32 million worth of development. This year, we're going to probably top of $100 million in new development. And I agree with Marty that ideally, we'd like to bring in development that provide family supporting jobs. That's always a challenge, especially in a tough economy. But I think that with our development department and with the experience that they have, we can leverage our great location in Milwaukee County and bring in a lot more development And someday we'll be able to say there isn't any room for any new development in the city of West Dallas. And I think it's an attainable goal.
Thank you.
The candidates will now be provided a 1-minute closing statement, starting with Mr. Copland.
All right, well, I guess I'm just going to take a very brief time to recount a conversation that I overheard. I ride the flyer bus to UWM, and I sometimes take the downtown flyer. And I heard a couple of ladies in December talking about their tax bill. And it wasn't necessarily that they were West Dallas residents. I don't really know where they lived. But they said, you know, one lady said to the other lady, you know, it's not so much that I mind paying taxes, but I really would like to feel I got fair value for it. Well, I'd like to work in the city of West Dallas, and I'd like to think that we provide fair value to our citizens and provide the kind of services, the basic services that our city depends upon. And I think as a municipality, if we continue to do that, maybe people won't cheer when they get their tax bill in December, but they'll at least feel that they got fair value for their tax dollar. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Probst?
Thank you. I happen to agree with Alderman Copland. I think that our tax dollars, we get an awful lot for them. I don't think that people stop and pay attention to exactly what you are getting for our tax dollars. I am very grateful to the city workers and the services that are provided. Again, I feel very safe in this community. I think West Dallas has a lot to offer. I'm here, ready, willing, and able. I'm committed. I'm motivated. Again, I'm an excellent communicator. I'm a great listener. And I've got a lot of energy and a very vested interest in seeing this community succeed and progress into the 21st century.
Thank you. Mr. Weigel?
I'm just going to relate this, my sense that I get as alderman when I'm out knocking on doors right now. A lot of people in our community don't even really understand what it is that we do, and sharing that with them, explain to them that it's a part-time job, that we're one of 10 people, that we work together to find solutions. It's worked out very well for us. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think we have been. Again, I've been on the council for 8 years. It's been a very educational 8 years. I can tell you that it's an interesting learning curve. The other question I get when I'm out knocking on doors, and right now I'm knocking on every door, not just the doors of voters. This is because we represent everybody. I get a question about whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat, and we always explain that it's a nonpartisan position. Then they ask the big question: Scott Walker and the recall. And I tell them, you know, as an alderman, we're going to have to work with whatever Madison gives us. Personally, I did vote for Scott Walker, and I think the recall is wrong, but I will represent the citizens to the best of the community.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bunker?
I think there's a lot to learn just from the standpoint of what the Common Council does and what their responsibilities are and the decisions they can make and they can't make. And that's one of the things that I really don't have a lot of experience or knowledge of, and the incumbents definitely do. What I do have a lot of knowledge on and a lot of experience on is building things. And I think that's what we have to do, or that's what I feel I have to do as an alderman, is go out and actually build things. Go out and build things. And the stuff that's happening around the city right now, the development and the building and the construction and the increase in jobs coming to the city, I think it's all for waste if we don't bring it all together. And really, if I'm elected an alderman, that's what I'm going to be focused on, getting the downtown to where people will come in for it, and getting these businesses that are coming into the city to actually go to the downtown for their lunch.
Thank you. That concludes our questions for the 2nd District. We will proceed into a 5-minute recess. We thank all the candidates for participating tonight and wish you the best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you.